I know just the man who...
Hello? Hello again.
Well, hello to you. Do come in.
Well, thank you.
Not at all.
I'm sure.
See?
I've come about this.
No. Before business, a few amenities. May I take your...
Oh, well.
Now, what would you like to have to drink?
Oh, I have a very strict rule not a drop before sundown. And I never break a strict rule. Except for men in uniform. What are you drinking?
Well, at the moment, Stingers.
Stingers would be super. My name is Alice Kratchner. If I may be so bold.
Hi, Alice. I'm Cruson. This is Lieutenant McCann, Wallace, and Hardy.
Hello, hello, hello. Are you Army, Navy, or what?
Navy.
Then it's all right if I say down the hatch.
Perfect.
Down the hatch. It's getting close to sundown, so let's make it a double.
There are celebrities whose talents and looks captivate the public for a while, and then there are stars, those rare entertainers with that intangible something that elevates them beyond mere fame to the lofty heights of legend. From an early age, Jayne Mansfield knew she was destined for stardom. Dominating the pop culture landscape of the 1950s as one of the original blonde bombshells, Mansfield captured the imaginations of millions with her stunning looks, gravity-defying figure, and effervescent personality. Vera Jane Palmer was born in 1933 in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, to parents Herbert William and Vera Jeffrey Palmer. She always knew she wanted to be famous. As a teenager, Jane plastered her walls with photos of movie idols and dreamed of stardom. In 1936, a big part of Jane's world came crashing down when her beloved father died suddenly of a heart attack. Herbert Palmer's passing left a void in Jane's life. At 16, Vera Jane Palmer, who was still in high school, eloped with 20-year-old Paul Mansfield. Despite being married, Jane kept the marriage a secret and continued to live with her mother and stepfather while attending high school. According to Raymond Straight, author of The Tragic Secret Life of Jayne Mansfield, Jane grew up searching for a father figure in men, but never found one. When Jane became pregnant, the secret came out. Mama said I had ruined my life and her life, Jane told her friend and biographer May Mann. Mama said I made my bed and I would have to lie in it and to expect no help from her. Then she relented and bought me a pretty white wedding dress. And we had a wedding of sorts, but I always remembered her telling me never to expect help from her. On November 9th, 1950, Jane and Paul Mansfield welcomed daughter Jane Marie into the world. However, motherhood would do nothing to diminish Jane's ambition. After Jane's high school graduation, the young couple enrolled at Southern Methodist University in Dallas. Jane and Paul Mansfield, like many young newlyweds, faced financial struggles. Despite this, they worked hard to juggle parenthood, classes, and jobs in order to build a life for themselves and their baby daughter. Jane told May Mann, "Paul and I had a tough time. I sold photo albums door to door, and he took on odd jobs, sweeping floors and selling magazines. During the summer, Jane Marie had to come to classes with me since my husband was away for ROTC summer camp. Jane left our daughter with her parents while she went to California to study drama at the University of California, Los Angeles. After the summer session, we briefly returned to Texas, but the Korean War led to Paul's activation in the Army Reserve and a move to Camp Gordon near Atlanta, Georgia. Jane's habit of sunbathing and outdoor exercise caused quite a stir among the soldiers and their spouses and drove her husband mad with jealousy. Paul Mansfield made a deal with his wife. If she could wait out his 2-year tour of duty, they would move to Hollywood and pursue Jane's dreams. Initially supportive of Jane's aspirations, Paul moved his small family to Los Angeles. Soon, Paul began to hate the idea of Jayne becoming a star, as her pursuit of her career pushed him further into the background of his wife's life. Jayne Mansfield was incredibly intelligent and possessed superhuman ambition, mapping out her every career move like a general, planning an assault. By the 1950s, the public's conception of the ideal woman was the voluptuous platinum blonde. Marilyn Monroe established the standard for the mid-century sex symbol, and many aspiring starlets emulated her. With her 40-22-35 figure, Jayne Mansfield had a natural advantage, and some hair dye completed the look. Jayne Mansfield epitomized the blonde bombshell and took it to the extreme, but even in a time when larger was considered better, her curves were deemed too provocative by some. In a 2003 episode of the BBC documentary series Living Famously, it was revealed that Mansfield had won numerous titles due to her stunning looks. These included Miss Photo Flash, Miss Cadillac, Cherry Blossom Queen, and Queen of the Palm Springs Desert Rodeo. The only title she turned down was Miss Roquefort Cheese because it didn't sound right. However, her physical attributes were considered too provocative for commercial advertising. The official Jayne Mansfield licensing website, JayneMansfield.com, includes a quote from photographer Gary Lester regarding one of Mansfield's early modeling jobs for General Electric. According to Lester, Jayne was one of the girls I used. She was positioned on the far left side of the picture. General Electric informed me that they had to remove her from the picture because she appeared too sexy for the viewers of 1954. After arriving in California, Jayne Mansfield's marriage to Paul Mansfield ended just 4 months later. Their marriage had started to show cracks during their time at Camp Gordon. According to biographer Raymond Straight, Paul Mansfield had hoped that getting married and becoming a mother would suppress his wife's ambitions. Before Paul left for Korea, the marriage was essentially over, but Jayne didn't file for divorce out of propriety. "I knew it," Mansfield said, "and I think Paul did too, but you don't walk out on your husband while he's off fighting a war. At least I don't." The marriage collapsed due to emotional and financial struggles caused by the Mansfields' move to California and Jayne's relentless pursuit of fame. Alleged infidelities on Jayne's part also took a toll on Paul.
Mansfields moved to Hollywood so Jayne could seek fame and fortune. For the first time, Paul Mansfield publicly discusses his ex-wife.
Within about 3 or 4 weeks, she had called City Hall, told him she was good looking, and within 4 or 5 weeks after our coming here, she had been chosen sight unseen Miss Fire Prevention Week.
Jayne dyed her hair blonde.
Eventually, he gave Jayne an ultimatum. It was him or her career. Soon, he was on his way back to Dallas. Jayne Mansfield's ambitions finally began to bear fruit when she landed her first movie role in the 1955 film noir Female Jungle. That year would also find Mansfield making the first of many appearances in Playboy. Jayne's semi-nude photo spread in the famous men's magazine gave Paul Mansfield what he hoped would be ammunition to gain custody of their daughter. He cited it as evidence that Jayne was an unfit mother, a claim that was repeated by each of her subsequent husbands and never proven in a court of law. Jayne Mansfield instinctively understood the value of publicity. She turned to Jim Byron, a former club promoter, to help her with her image. As related in Jayne Mansfield, a biography, Byron managed to get her a meeting with a producer at Warner Brothers. The producer, who was already familiar with Mansfield's story from numerous other aspiring actresses, advised her to consider settling down as a wife and mother instead. After giving Mansfield a tour of the studio lot, the producer promised to call her if any opportunities arose. Shortly after, the studio contacted Mansfield for a screen test. Within days, she signed a 7-year contract with the studio. In the beginning, it seemed like Jayne Mansfield had finally achieved her dream of stardom. She enjoyed walking around the Warner lot with the biggest movie celebrities of the day, and Warner's publicity machine kept her in the public eye. However, her 7-year contract resulted in little work for Mansfield. Ultimately, Warner Brothers dropped Jayne Mansfield after 4 largely unremarkable films. In July 1955, Mansfield took a starring role in George Axelrod's play Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? A Broadway hit, the play finally propelled Mansfield to fame.
Temperature now, but the room temperature's changing.
if you get my cruder meaning.
Him? Why, he's not even a bellboy.
Never mind the uniforms, you just want the voice. Speak, boy.
Miss Marlowe, I'm Rockwell Hunter.
Rockwell Hunter? His name sounds very influential. His name only so happens to be Rockwell Hunter. What do you do?
However, 20th Century Fox was so eager to sign the actress that the studio bought the rights to the play and signed Mansfield to a new 6-year contract with a promise to groom her as one of the studio's most important stars. From the beginning of her career to the present day, many critics dismiss Jayne Mansfield as an overblown parody of Marilyn Monroe. The comparisons began with Mansfield's star-making turn in George Axelrod's 1955 comedy Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? In the stage production, Mansfield takes on the role of Rita Marlowe, a classic blonde actress known for her light voice and questionable intellect. Created as a satire of Monroe, the character of Rita Marlowe provided Mansfield with an opportunity to showcase her comedic skills. Regrettably, she would always be labeled as a dumb blonde by critics who misinterpreted her performance as genuine. Mansfield, possessing an IQ of 140, with some reports indicating as high as 163, was fluent in 5 languages and proficient in playing the violin, piano, and viola. She astutely developed her seemingly frivolous sex symbol image to achieve the greatest effect. Monroe grew to despise her public image and yearned to be seen as a serious actress, while Mansfield craved attention. When the resistant Monroe was suspended by 20th Century Fox, the studio chose Jayne Mansfield to replace their troubled and increasingly difficult star. Playwright George Axelrod remarked, "Jayne Mansfield loved being Marilyn, whereas Marilyn hated being Marilyn. That was the difference between them." In a 1957 interview with the Washington Post's Lawrence J. Quirk, Mansfield explained her own unique appeal by contrasting herself with Monroe's artistic aspirations. She said, "I want to be the ordinary man's idea of what a sexy, accommodating, friendly, down-to-earth girlfriend should be." Mansfield's move from Broadway to 20th Century Fox marked the beginning of her journey to movie stardom. Her first film at the studio was a Technicolor rock and roll comedy called The Girl Can't Help It. In the film, Mansfield plays Jerry Jordan, the tone-deaf girlfriend of a mobster who is determined to turn her into a singing star with the help of a hapless, hard-drinking press agent. The film, featuring performances by Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, Fats Domino, and Little Richard, was a huge success and further cemented Mansfield's sexpot image. Mansfield's next film for Fox was a radical departure. Released in 1957, The Wayward Bus, based on a novel by John Steinbeck, found the actress in a rare dramatic role. A modest box office success, the film garnered Mansfield a Golden Globe for New Star of the Year. The same year, Mansfield would star in Kiss Them For Me with Cary Grant and reprise her role as Rita Marlowe in the film adaptation of Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? A world-famous movie star, Mansfield purchased a Hollywood mansion, a Jaguar, and a host of other luxuries, all in her signature color, pink. However, Mansfield's rapid rise came to an end with the 1958 release of The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw. As the 1960s began, the era of the blonde bombshell came to an end. Jayne Mansfield, who was known for her roles in low-budget foreign B pictures, had to decline roles due to her frequent pregnancies. In 1962, Fox terminated her contract. Despite her numerous appearances in films and on television, Jayne Mansfield will always be remembered simply for being Jayne Mansfield. Rather than becoming famous for a specific role, Mansfield gained stardom through her self-promotion. Her desire for the spotlight made her a precursor to the modern reality star. No part of her life was off limits, and there truly was no such thing as bad publicity for Jayne Mansfield, said P. David Ebersole, director of the documentary Mansfield 66/67, in a 2017 feature about the actress in The Hollywood Reporter. She really was the first star to create the idea that the public needed to know who you are, not just the public persona, but behind closed doors. Decades before Janet Jackson's infamous 2004 Super Bowl halftime performance, Jayne Mansfield pioneered the wardrobe malfunction. She accidentally lost the top of her skimpy red bikini after diving into a pool at a 1955 press junket. However, her most famous photo op came at a 1957 party meant to officially welcome Italian actress Sophia Loren to Hollywood. In 2014, Loren told Entertainment Weekly about the night she was upstaged by Mansfield's plunging neckline. "I'm so frightened that everything in her dress is going to blow, boom, and spill all over the table," Loren said. Let's revisit the part where the Fox terminated their contract with Mansfield. Jayne Mansfield eventually faced a backlash due to excessive media exposure. The press and 20th Century Fox grew weary of her attention-seeking behavior. As a result, the studio loaned her out for low-budget foreign productions. In 1964, Mansfield joined the touring company of a revival of the 1955 William Ing play Bus Stop, following in the footsteps of the late actress Marilyn Monroe, who starred in the successful 1956 film adaptation of the play. In the production, Mansfield was joined by her second husband, Hungarian bodybuilder and former Mr. Universe Mickey Hargitay. They got married in 1958 and had 2 children, Mickey Hargitay Jr. and Zoltan Hargitay. They were expecting their 3rd child when they separated in 1963.
Love with Mickey Hargitay, a former Mr. Universe. They were the bodies beautiful. They lived in a heart-shaped world, a pink palace filled with babies. But the marriage unraveled after Jayne publicly announced she was bored. She told the press before she told Mickey.
And later welcomed Mariska Hargitay, whom we all know from Law and Order. By the autumn of 1964, the couple had divorced, but they kept it mostly out of the press. While touring for Bus Stop, Mansfield began a romantic relationship with the director Matt Cimber. The two got married 1 month after Mansfield and Hargitay's divorce was finalized. According to MeTV, Cimber gave Mansfield what proved to be a disastrous piece of career advice. At Cimber's urging, she turned down the role of movie star Ginger Grant on Sherwood Schwartz's classic sitcom Gilligan's Island. The role went to Tina Louise, who had appeared with Mansfield in the Broadway cast of Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? Jayne Mansfield pursued romance with nearly the same passion and intensity as she chased fame. Stardom and fame were a volatile mix for Mansfield. Let's revisit Jayne's marriage to Mickey Hargitay. Jayne Mansfield's one true love in life, other than fame, was bodybuilder Mickey Hargitay. She wooed him away from an aging Mae West to marry him in 1958. With their flashy style and physical perfection, they perfectly complemented one another. However, Jayne embarked on a series of affairs, including an alleged tryst with President John F. Kennedy, which eventually ended her second marriage. Mansfield's third and final marriage to director Matt Cimber ended in divorce in just under 2 years. A year after welcoming another child, Tony Cimber. If Jayne Mansfield had started her career by imitating Marilyn Monroe, it appeared that she was concluding it by imitating herself. To deal with a life and career that were quickly spiraling out of control, Mansfield turned to drugs and alcohol. She was involved in a tumultuous affair with her lawyer, Sam Brody. According to biographer May Mann, Brody and Mansfield's relationship often deteriorated into drunken fights. On the morning of July 29, 1967, Jayne Mansfield, Sam Brody, their driver Ronnie Harrison, and 3 of Mansfield's children were traveling from Biloxi, Mississippi to New Orleans. Mansfield was scheduled for a local TV appearance. At around 2 a.m., their car collided with the rear of a tractor trailer. The accident occurred in a fog of pesticide, making the danger virtually invisible. The 3 adult occupants were killed instantly, but the children survived. Jayne Mansfield was just 34 years old. From allegations of a curse placed on Brody by Mansfield's alleged paramour, Anton LaVey, founder of the Church of Satan, to the persistent but false rumor that the actress was decapitated, the accident continues to fascinate Mansfield's devotees. The mangled car in which the actress lost her life has become a macabre traveling attraction. It is now in the possession of Scott Michaels, the founder of Dearly Departed Tours in Los Angeles. She was one of the leading blonde sex symbols of the 1950s and was known for her publicity stunts and open personal life. Mansfield starred in several popular Hollywood films that emphasized her platinum blonde hair, hourglass figure, and cleavage-revealing costumes. Mansfield's image inspired the character Susan Storm of the Fantastic Four. While Mansfield's film career was short-lived, she had several box office successes and a lot of influence in the entertainment industry.
Oh, dear.
What are all of their names now? This big fella, who's that?
I lose track, actually. This is Nicholas.
Hi, Nicholas.
And...
Pardon?
What's your name?
Who are you?
What's your name, honey?
Why did she name you that?
I just couldn't think of anything.
What is your name?